There we go. So this will also be posted on YouTube as well. So if you want to go back and look at the questions that we went over, you can do so on YouTube and also on Facebook. Regroup is a struggle. Yes. Yeah, it really is. It very much is, especially depending on what your experience has been, kind of what you're going through, your emotions, your mental capacity, your physical capacity, your life capacity. Regroup can really be a struggle, because the exam, when not successful, takes a hit to your confidence, takes a hit to, sometimes it feels really personal, right? It feels like you have done something wrong. You are not doing X, Y, and Z. And sometimes it could be that there's some knowledge lacking. Um, Sometimes it could be just the way things kind of panned out. I was just talking to one of my friends today, and we were talking about, um, when you have like a group or friends, and some friends are passing, other friends are failing the exam, and what that does and how that feels. And it's like, well, will I, everybody else passed and I didn't, like, what, and just everyone's journey is different. You'll hear me say, I wish I could have a magic wand and everything would be fine, and you would pass. But sometimes it's just as much as a personal journey, than it is professional, honestly. But we're gonna get through the professional stuff. I can help you with that. Sometimes I can navigate that, but sometimes it's a little bit harder to navigate, just because it's different for everyone and it's so personal, it's so personalized. So for some people, that one thing is, you know, taking it again in a different test center. That one thing could be just not focusing on the content and focusing on relaxation techniques. That one thing sometimes can be a medical intervention where they may take some medication to help their focus or whatever. So it just could be anything. And sometimes it's just so hard to know like what exactly um, is your breakthrough thing. And sometimes it's very spiritual as well. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I'm very spiritual as well. And so that also, it plays a part in your study journey. Um, yeah, it's exhausting. It is. The struggle is real and it's exhausting. It is absolutely. Um, so I'm Dr. Sapphire Boone. I am a Morgan State University graduate 3 time. I love Morgan State University, and that's kind of where I got my beginnings in terms of teaching and coaching for the licensure. I was able to pass the exam on the first try for both the master's and the advanced generalist, which is different than the clinical. Um, I am not a therapist and am not, I don't want to say I'm not clinical, but that's not my area of expertise. However, the exam has become my area of expertise. So what you'll find is that although my material is not designed for clinical, tonight the questions that we have are going to be universal, but my material is not specifically for clinical, but sometimes and most times it works for clinical too, because it's more about breaking down the questions, and that's like really what the exam is about. Like I can't really make you study, or like I can't study for you. So the studying is the studying, like the content is the content. Honestly, it pretty much stays the same until sometimes we shift on what we're focused on in social work. But the content is the content, but it's really about how do I apply the content to the exam? What is it looking for? And all of those things. Um, and so my that's where my passion lies. My passion lies with making sure social workers don't abandon the social work profession because of the exam. And that's really where my passion is. I want to help. I want to make sure that you pass the exam. I want to make it easier for you. I wish I had an exam coach when I was studying. I did not. And so I did a lot of studying. And so that's what I'm here to do tonight. I do have materials and we'll kind of go over those at some point in the night, but wanting to really just make sure you know how to break down the questions that works for you and how you are processing it. So I just want to start out with this slide. I don't know if there are any that this is their first exam attempt. So drop a 1 in the chat if this is your first attempt and you are getting ready to take the exam. So I wanted to give just a little bit of basics just so you kind of know things. Now you can ignore this right here because it says Maryland, and that's where I am. I'm in Maryland. But the Association of Social Work Boards creates the test. Everything that you need to know about the test is going to be on aswb.org. Okay. And you want to make sure that you are constantly looking on that website. For example, we know that there's a new software, a new vendor for the test in terms of administration of the test. We've been hearing that they are going to be working towards having the exam at home. I'm going to be honest, I haven't looked on there very recently for that specifically, but you want to look on there. So PSI is the test administrator. That's the vendor that they use. It replaced Pearson VUE. And so you want to see, is that an option? Because guess what? That's a barrier. Some people, that distractibility is really hard in a test center where you have all those other people. One of my friends, the test proctor, was just like talking to talking to whoever I guess stopped by to see the person. That's distracting, so sometimes those things that you can control, having it at home will be a little bit better. So make sure you are looking on that website and really making sure that you are up to date on that. You do want to make sure you are doing everything according to your state board. Sometimes it's under Department of Health. Sometimes it may be under its own. So just make sure that you are simultaneously making sure with your board, your state board, and then the Association of Social Work Boards. They communicate with each other, and we know that we're working on the social work compact, but in some states it's going through, in some states it's kind of in limbo. Even if it just passed, we're not really sure what it is. So you want to make sure that you know kind of what's going on in your state with the license. Things are changing all the time, and so you just want to keep up to date with that. You want to make sure that you go on the ASWB website. I know I saw plenty of clinicals in there. You want to look at your content outline. The test is 170 multiple questions, multiple choice questions. There's no essays on there. There are 20 unscored, and you will not know where or when they're unscored. It's all together. Now, I heard the board is working on some things, but to make the test better and easier to pass, if you've been in the news or seen the controversy over the exam in the social work world, then you know it's a debatable kind of thing in terms of the exam. Is it biased? That sort of thing. We're not here for that tonight, but just just wanted to say that there are possibly some updates coming. They're not, I don't have a relationship with the board, so they're not telling me anything. But I would suspect that any changes they're going to make is going to take some time. So I wouldn't be like, well, let me wait until they make the changes because we just don't know when that will be. So you sit for 4 hours. That's your time limit. However, there are accommodations that you can get. And the reason why I bring this up is because some people don't know about them. They take the test, they never heard about it. And so I don't want that to be you. I don't want that to be the case. So you can go ahead and put in the chat accommodation. That don't even look like it's spelled right. So I'm sorry about that. I'm looking at it like two D's. I don't think it has two D's. Um, but accommodations. Let me know in the chat if you have applied for accommodations. What has your experience been? If you feel like sharing, you don't have to share, but just for our fellow test takers, to get some information. When do I know I need to have an accommodation? I would say number one, if you've ever had an accommodation, if you had accommodation in high school, in college, if you've had student support services that allows you to have some type of adjustment, like maybe longer time to take a test or anything like that. If you have any type of learning challenge, then you also may want to consider an accommodation. If you have test anxiety that is um, really impacting your ability to study, um, then you may need to do an accommodation. Sometimes, if you've had a failed attempt, it's just like, why not get it? Because that might just be helpful, just to have it. So the accommodation process, it is an application. You have to write a narrative. It's good if you have some doctor support, a therapist, a primary care, just saying why you need the accommodation. The narrative also, I can help with the narrative. If you, I'm not going to write it for you, but if you write it, I can adjust it to make sure that it flows and it will hopefully get approved. And normally, my social workers I work with have no uh, problems getting approved with it. Um, let's see what we say in the chat. We said get an extra hour with a private room. Extra hour in a private room. Okay, we have something in common, Salima. Additional time in a private room. Thinking about it because it has taken 4 times. Okay, each time you're running out of time. Start feeling like you're rushing. Yes, those are signs. Definitely signs. And even if you're taking mock exams and you're feeling like you're rushing and running out of time, that might be a good thing to think about. Extra time was approved. Extra time is very easy to get. Private room. For those that have a private room, if you don't mind sharing, can you tell us in the chat, how did you get a private room? Like, if you don't mind sharing, like what were the circumstances? Because I just always kind of wondered that. Here's another question. Do you have to have a doctor's assistance? My answer would be yes, but if you have an accommodation and you did not need a doctor's note or letter or anything from the doctor, please let us know too, so we kind of know. Oh, you called the test center and asked if they had private rooms. Oh, and they gave it to you? What if a person never had accommodation in high school or college? Can we request it for the exam? Yes. So that's not a prerequisite. I was just giving you some kind of signs that you may need one. The easiest route is to do test anxiety because that's just, I mean, we all got that. And so it makes, and now that y'all are saying about the private room, it makes sense with your test anxiety because it messes with your focus. So that's what I mean about making sure that you put that in there. That you are having issues with test anxiety. And then for doctors, for those that are replying about getting the accommodation, let us know if you had like a doctor's note or a letter from the doctor or something too. I've always heard that you kind of need that, but it could not be. What should we say to the doctor? Oh, yes, this is a good conversation to have with your doctor. Let them know you're having test anxiety. Talk about, um, yeah, the form has to be signed. That's what I thought. Talk about the symptoms you are experiencing with your test anxiety. And then you could ask, I told her what to write. Yeah. You could ask your doctor, like, what can they do to help you? Number one, what do they suggest? Do they suggest anything for test anxiety? And then let them know that you would like them to fill out the form. And let them know what you want so they can definitely put the right stuff in there. Okay, so this is good. I learned something new tonight. You can ask for a private room and it looks like it's an easy approval. I don't know why I thought that was like a harder thing to get. Um, that's why I love y'all. I had a letter from my nurse practitioner. List times you have taken the test. Yeah, you could tell the doctor the truth. Ask them to fill out the form so you can get extra time. It's very simple. Yeah, so I love this. I love the sharing. It's really good because sometimes you hear about it, but you don't really know like what the steps are. I am not an expert on the steps, but I am very much willing to assist with the narrative that you have to write up if you are feeling like you're not sure like what to put. Um, so absolutely. It takes about 2 weeks for ASWB to approve. Yes, and that's a good thing to know too, because it is a little bit extra time. So you want to build that in so that you don't feel like, well, I just won't do the accommodation because my test date is coming up anyways. And also, if you know before you schedule your test is kind of the best way to do the accommodation. Um, you want to do it before you schedule the exam so that you can avoid a fee. I don't know if they still charge the fee, but they typically charge a fee if you've already had it scheduled and then you have to reschedule it with an accommodation because apparently it's like a separate like schedule. Yeah. Yep. You have to schedule through the non standard accommodation line. Yes. So there's a different scheduling process. So you just want to keep all of that in mind. It took nearly a month for me. Yeah, so you definitely wanna build that time in. It is good for 1 year. Thank you. I honestly thought accommodations were for persons with physical disabilities or English as a second language, but really it's not, yeah. Um, Concentration issues, okay? If you cannot concentrate, you cannot take the exam. You cannot. So, having that private room, having that extra hour, um, you know, is good. I'm not telling you that you have to get an accommodation because sometimes people are like, "Oh my gosh, now I have to get one." I'm not saying that at all. Um, but what I am saying is that it's an option and it's an option that can be used, right? And an option that they should approve because the exam you need some of that stuff. That could be, the difference. Even just knowing you have an extra hour just may alleviate your anxiety just a little bit. Not, you know, you still gonna be anxious, but it'll alleviate a little bit. So here's some free study resources. We have a Facebook group, we have a Quizlet, behavioral health app. I love that. TED Talks has free study groups. So I always promote his study groups. His IG is just my confidence 463 with the underscore in there. He does it typically on Sundays and also offers individual tutoring when his schedule allows, and it's all free. So we like the free. YouTube is also free. Ages of Change has a podcast. And for my clinical test takers, Dr. Pam Turner is great. So I know everybody asks me, do I do tutoring? I just don't have enough time in my schedule to do tutoring, but Dr. Pam Turner has tutoring. So highly recommend her and her business. It's Academic World Changers, I think is her official business. I know she has some other products as well. Because guess what? Do I want you to use my product? Sure. But if there's something that's more appropriate for you and that works better for you, I want you to have that, right? I want you to pass the exam. So always letting you know about the resources. Here are three. If I had to pick the top three study materials, here they are, okay? And this goes for all levels of the exam. Dawn Apgar. I actually met her. I was a fan. Okay. I was like, oh, it's Dr. Apgar. Uh, but she's a professor. So I saw her, at a university, the conference for universities. I saw her there. And I was like near her. And I was just like looking like, you making lots of money. You making lots of money. Anyways, her material to me is like social work exam for okay, I'm gonna use the word dummy, but it's just because you know how you used to have those manuals and it would say everything for dummies, like I don't know, buying a home for dummies, It's like that. It's like simplified, right? Obviously, that's not politically correct. We don't say that anymore, but that's just what it reminds me of, right? It is very comprehensive and it's easy to read. When I was studying, we had some different other materials that were a little harder to read. And so I like something easy to read. I like something with large print. I like something that I can understand and I don't have to Google it 5 times because it's really simple. So her material is simple. It also is included. The book is a physical book that you can order on Amazon. And then you also can get the app that goes with it. Most affordable. She's pretty affordable. And there's a new version. The newest version is the 4th edition. And if this is your first time purchasing materials, then go ahead and get the newer edition. If you already have an older edition or you come across an older edition from someone for free, then it may work, fine. Licensingprep.com or LEAP also has a study guide, but it also has other materials like audio course and exams on their website as well. And then Therapist Development Center is probably the most famous. It's very famous. And although it was not around when I took the exam, either exam, it is one that I've heard probably the most positive feedback about. Um, in my experience, for clinical test takers, it's really good. For master's level test takers, not everybody needs to get that. Like I wouldn't say you have to get TDC if you want to pass the master's level. But for the clinical level, I think it's good. Like I from my experience, it's been really helpful. And if you just are someone that needs a structured program to tell you what to study every day and to have some study guides and to have some audio courses and to put all your study materials all in one so you don't have to go on YouTube, you don't have to have these outside and put it all together, then it is a good option. It is also expensive. So you just want to be able to, you know, plan for that. Let me go back to the last one. Yes, TED Talk is just my confidence. That's the IG. So if you go on his Instagram and then you click like the link in the bio, you should be able to he's gonna post when it is and he'll put the Zoom information right on Instagram. But you can also sign up to be like a part of his community and get the emails, I think, and stuff. Okay. So I wanted to go over the hot topics and then we're gonna go straight into the questions. These are called extra hot topics. So before we start every class, I give hot topics. And hot topics are things that are trendy right now. They are things that They're like, if you don't study anything else, please study this, right? Because they are things that are common. You may see them on the exam, you may not. But these are things that are just trending. They're very trending. Like anybody you ask, do you have community questions on your exam? The answer is going to be yes. So macro, macro, macro. You'll see a lot of these areas are just broke down saying macro. That's what they're saying. So chi-square, t-test, statistical analysis could possibly be on the exam. Misrepresentation, that's an ethical violation, code of ethics. Memorandum of understanding. Like, why is that on the exam? I don't know. But then I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. This like the entrepreneur business administrative side of social work, the MOU, right? Adult protective services, some defense mechanisms like splitting. Here we go with some more research terms: mode, median, and mean. Formative and summative evaluation. Content and face validity is also research. Self-care is ethics, code of ethics, and it's on the exam. Substance use disorders, sometimes we forget about substance use and we kind of focus on other things when it comes to disorders. Yes, sexual disorders, yes. PRN, yes, all of those. So these were ones that I did this class a couple months ago, and these were ones that were like fresh. But when we go through the material, like for my diagnosis and disorder class, it's hot topics just for diagnosis and disorders, and sexual disorders is on there, right? So this is not an exhaustive list. I just wanted you to know, like, these are like extra hot, trendy things that you should know about. So we're gonna skip all of the like tips and things. When you have time, you can go back and look through the slides and kind of go over that information. I want to just go ahead and start with the questions. We're gonna do the first one together so I can show you how to process the question. And then the rest of them, I'll give you a little time, I'll pause for you to read it and process it yourself. And then we'll come back together and go over the answers. New DSM-5 TR changes are on test 2025. Oh, okay, thank you for that. I was wondering, when are they going to update it? So you want to make sure you know what the differences are from the 5 and the TR. So just you can keep, there was a lot of changes in terms of the number of changes, but in terms of the overall impact of the changes, you know, there were very few that were significant enough for it to impact the exam. So when we go over diagnosis and medication, we'll go through that. Okay, so the way that I would process this question is I would read the last sentence first. The social worker should first. And what do you know about an indicator about first? Like when you see a question that says, what should the social worker do first? What are some things that you keep in mind? Put them in the chat. Safety, okay, helping process. So some type of order. We know this exam is about order for sure. So I'm thinking about the order of things. Yeah, safety, assessment, early stages could be. Number all the answers. Maslow, okay. May do all things, but what's first? Okay, what needs to be done in the moment? Yeah, I like all of those. Very good. So we're keeping all that in mind, right? It might be assessment, need to rule out safety if it's showing some signs of safety. Need to make sure that we put our answers in order. Okay. So a hospital social worker in an emergency room receives a referral for a 19-year-old pregnant client. This client is 6 months pregnant. During the initial assessment, the client discusses the identified pronoun as they. The client discusses that they do not remember the last prenatal appointment, has low appetite and gets very little sleep, and uses marijuana to increase appetite. The social worker should first. We got a lot of things going on. This is a practice question. So I'm like trying to figure out what kind of question it is. It's a practice question. And then, yes, I am sharing my screen. You might need to adjust your view so that you can see it. Let me make sure. Yeah, I'm sharing my screen. Yeah. You want to see what setting you're in. So you're a hospital social worker, so you kind of know like what your scope is. You want to know who your client is. Your client is, who's your client? Who is your client? Yes, yes, the pregnant person. Right? The pregnant client. Yeah. Not the unborn fetus. That is not your client. Yeah, the pregnant teen. That's your client. So, very key right here. We are in the assessment phase because it says during the initial assessment. And we know that our client is having issues with uh some issues, right? We have issues with their medical kind of status and then issues with substance use. And so as a social worker, we're thinking about all those things and how they all impact each other, right? Medically, substance use. Yes, we're thinking about all that stuff. So assess the client's understanding of how this behavior impacts the unborn child. Refer the client to a support group welcoming to non-binary clients. Report the client for suspected abuse of the unborn child. So which one would you eliminate first? A, B, or C? So if we go back and say, who is our client? We said it was the teenage, the pregnant teenager. So if we say that our client is a pregnant teenager, then C would be out because C would only be addressing the unborn child. And you can't report an unborn child. Yeah, absolutely. So one, it's impossible. C is impossible. I mean, you could try, but it's not going to do anything. It's not going to go nowhere. And C is also against what we said about the client. So if you said that B was the first one that you eliminated, I'm not saying that it shouldn't be eliminated, but I'm saying that C should be eliminated first. Because remember, as we eliminate, we're going to eliminate what we do last or what doesn't even make sense. Why is this important? This is important for your processing skills. The order doesn't always matter, but when it is a black and white like this, like C, we're not ever doing C, I need you to eliminate that first. Because what ends up happening is C now becomes a contender when it shouldn't even be in the running, right? C don't qualify to be our distractor or anywhere near the answer. So we want to get rid of answers that are definitely not it, definitely have nothing to do with the question, not about our client. We got to get rid of those first. If you let those ineligible answers stay in the running, it's going to decrease your chances of getting the right answer. So as we go through this, the answer is A, and I'm pretty sure everybody, I saw in the chat anyways, everybody was saying A. It does matter a little bit how you got there. Now, if you eliminate B first and then C, it might be fine. But what I want you to see is just how to do that so that you can make sure that you're eliminating ones that's not even, in the running. Okay. Let's do number 2. I'm going to pause and I'm going to allow you to read it to yourself, and then we'll go over it together. Normally, if this was a normal class for the full time, I would give you 45 to a minute to go over the question. We don't have that much time tonight. So just pausing a little bit just so you can kind of read it, and then we'll process together. What should the social worker do next? What do you think about with next? It should be a similar process to how you think about first question. So all of those things that you said, stay in the moment, put the answers in order. What was the other thing you said? I forgot. You said stay in the moment, number all your answers, helping process, safety assessment feelings. Yes. So you're thinking about all those things with next questions as well. But typically with a next question, something has already happened. So you really want to pay attention to what has already happened. Okay. This is an ethical question. It has to do with court. So it's really important. When you see ethical questions, you need to know that it's ethics. Because if not, you're going to apply non-ethical things to an ethical situation, right? This is my favorite, court orders. Okay. We have a defendant in a custody battle. So the client is our defendant. The social worker has been providing treatment for the past year. The social worker receives a court order for the client's entire record. That's all we know. We don't know anything else. All we know is that we have received a court order. I saw a lot of answers that aren't the right answer. So we're gonna have to go through this. What will we get rid of first? C. I agree with that. The answer is typically not to give the record. When it comes to the code of ethics, there are steps to getting to that point, but it's not the first step. The first step is not, let me give the record to the to the court. And I know that's hard to think about because when you think about a court, you think about a judge and you think about the law and you need to follow the law. And the code of ethics is not saying don't follow the law. The code of ethics is saying let's protect our client as much as we can while following the law, right? So it doesn't hurt for us to ask and say, can we not give you the information, right? So C is out. So now the question really is, should we talk to our client to determine how to respond to the court order? Or would we discuss it with our attorney to see what options we have in responding? So for the first thing, our client really doesn't determine how we would respond. Unless they're saying like, please give all the information. They wouldn't really determine that because we're already going to act on the side to protect the client. So what we're assuming is that we're always going to protect the client. And what we can confirm, the reason we can confirm that we're going to protect the client is because the client is in a custody battle, and nobody in a custody battle wants their diagnosis and all their mental health spilled out on in court, in open court, with everybody listening. Right? So that's how we know for sure we're going to protect the client. So talking to the client about it, it would be informational, but it really wouldn't help us in how to respond, right? Because we already know we're going to protect the client. We need to talk to the lawyer to see what are the protections that we can do. How can we protect the client, right? Are we going to respond and say, no, we're not providing the information? Is that an option? Right? Or if that's not an option, can we, put in a motion to get the order changed so that we don't have to give the entire record? Right? So these are things. And remember, it is the clinic's attorney, not your client's attorney. That's not the attorney you're talking to. You're talking to your employer's attorney. Every employer in social work, and probably all in all the fields, but definitely in social work, has a lawyer, right? Even when you're in private practice, you have a lawyer with your malpractice insurance. There's a lawyer on staff. Right? Because confidential, yes, my attorney. Yep. Yep. The clinic's attorney. That is assuming that you work at a clinic. Did it say you work? Yeah. The mental health clinic attorney. Yeah. So that's your attorney, not the client's attorney, because you probably wouldn't be talking to them. Right? You would most likely be talking to your own attorney that is going to represent the interests of the organization, making sure that they follow the law, but in this instance, also our confidentiality laws as well. Well, our confidentiality code of ethics. Any questions about this? Because a lot of the material out there is going to tell you to talk to the client. And I know we like to tell clients stuff and we like to keep them in the mix. And I'm not telling you you should not let the client know that you got the court order and what it's asking for. But in terms of responding, like, how am I going to respond? In terms of what I'm supposed to be doing, I want to talk to my attorney first. It's just good practice. This is why I test in the morning. I definitely thought clinic said client. Oh, got it. Yeah. And I'm also not saying that the answer is never to talk to the client first. I'm also not saying that. So I don't want you to say that Dr. Boone is saying don't ever pick that answer. That's just the part about the test that's irritating because there's no formula and I can't tell you what the answer will be every time. There are very few situations where the answer will be the same every time. All right, let's look at 3. We'll go over this one together just to speed it up a little bit. This approach is a characteristic of. When you see approach, you should be thinking about social work techniques, therapy techniques is what you should be thinking about. A social worker observes that a young child's tantrums significantly disrupt the family. The social worker tells the parents to respond to the tantrums by ignoring them completely, a directive intended to alter the family's response patterns. What family therapy, does this follow? And some of our key concepts here are alter the family's response patterns. So which one of these are focused on the response patterns? Looking at patterns, roles. That's what we want to kind of look at. Yes, this is a memory question. If you know it, you know it. If you don't, you don't. You're absolutely right. This is also a sign to tell you to study family therapy approaches. The answer is B, strategic family therapy. Let's see why. And I might have gave you the hints I might have gave you might have leaned you towards A because I said roles and stuff, but that's sorry about that. Strategic family therapy involves giving specific directives to change family interaction patterns. That's what you need to know right there. Structural focuses on family hierarchies. Bowen focuses on multi-generational patterns. So strategic, I kind of think of it like a solution almost. But it's changing the family interaction patterns. Structural is more about, and I'm sorry because I definitely said roles and all of that stuff. That's more structural. Roles, the connections, relationships, like all rules, like all of that would be structural. It's a short-term solution. I don't know. I don't think so. But we can look it up though. Courtney, I see your hand up, but go ahead and put your question or comment in the chat for us. Yeah, I'm gonna look that up, Loretta, as we go to the next question. The question is strategic family therapy a short-term therapy approach? I don't think so. I know solution-focused is. Solution-focused therapy is short-term. But I don't know about strategic. Please, all the clinicians in the room, let us know what you let us know the answer. No. Okay. I know it's task focused. Okay. Okay. What category for flashcards? What category would structural family therapy come under? I would say it could come under human behavior or interventions. Either one, because it's hard to say because theories and then the therapy it's like interchangeable. So family theories is a thing, so you'll see these as theories, and then they also have the therapies where the techniques come in. So you could put them under either one. Okay, let's do 4. I'm gonna give my voice a rest so you can read it. Okay. Yeah, it looks like we all said the same thing. Yeah. This was clear that we want to explore feelings. Client has some feelings. How do we know the client has some feelings? Because I will no longer be coming to the sessions because they are not helping. So although they have not really identified feelings, we know that we want to explore more about why it's not working. When in doubt, ask ask why. What's going on? We want to know more about the action versus us taking action. Let's just figure out like what is going on. Okay, for 5, we can go over this one together. Hopefully my voice will keep up. What is the first step the social worker should take according to the SBIRT protocol? Does anybody know what SBIRT stands for? Okay, come on, substance use experts, give us the acronym. I've seen it before, yeah. Oh, okay, I knew it was coming. Hey, Corinne. Yes, screening, brief intervention, and referral to treatment. I was just writing it. Screening, brief intervention, referral to treatment. And I love this intervention because it's for everyone. It doesn't have to be just for those that are in a substance use facility. Anybody can do this once they learn what it is, right? So the first part is screening or assessment, right? We need to know kind of what their use is, kind of what their situation is. So I think it's pretty clear what the answer is. Right? And this is how the test operates sometimes. Sometimes it is pretty simple. You know the definition, you know the steps. It asks you what the first step is, and it's C. So that one was pretty straightforward. We just need to know what SBIRT meant. And we needed to know what the question was asking. So we got those down. So now we know. 6 is pretty long, so I'm going to give you a couple seconds to read this through. Okay. The best action for the social worker to take is, does anybody know what kind of question this is? Safety. Okay. Self-determination. Mm-hmm. Yep, I'll take all of those. Which ones did you eliminate? When you think about best, all of them could be good, but what is the best? And with best and most only, not with all questions, sometimes this second to last sentence is key. The mother also stated that she wanted to talk with the social worker before she left to discuss the incident. There is your opportunity. Your client does not have to be ready to leave to have a safety plan. Actually, it's better for them to have a safety plan before they might be ready to leave. I mean, if they're like, hey, I want to leave right now, obviously we would help them with the plan. But even if they're um, contemplating it or not sure, it's just always good to have a safety plan, so that in the instance of, then they'll already have a plan that they've thought out with you. But they do have to be willing to talk to you about it. So this is an opportunity. Anytime my client is like, hey, let me talk to you about this, it's an opportunity to safety plan with them. That's why the answer is C. Educate is always like an option that is good too. Education is good. It didn't ask us what we do first. And normally when we educate, there's some type of lack of knowledge present in the question that is obvious that they do not have the knowledge. Like let's say the mother was like, I deserve it. Or, you know, it's not really a cycle of abuse, if they're kind of in denial a little bit, or uh, not realizing that they're in a cycle, then education will be good. But in terms of what's going on in the question, C is the best answer. Okay, we're going to do 7 and then we're going to do 8. And then I might take some time out maybe another day this week and do like a pop-up live and do the other questions that we didn't get to. Let's do this one all together. Here's another court order one. Let's see how we do this one. What should the social worker do first? A 35-year-old male client has been meeting with the social worker due to PTSD from a motorcycle accident. The social worker is aware that the client intends on pursuing a lawsuit to be compensated for damages. The social worker receives a subpoena from the client's lawyer for the entire record. What would you do first? Mm. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm-mm. What mindset are we in? Are we in protect mode or are we not? Are we in protect mode? That's what we need to know. We in protect mode. But are we in protect mode if the information will help our client win the case? What you think? They're gonna get money. They need this information. They need to show how the accident has impacted their mental health. So I wanted to give a different scenario where the answer is to review it with the client, because I wanted to show you both scenarios. The answer is A. I know we assert privileged communication. That's in our code of ethics. Like, that's definitely in our code of ethics. However, we already know that this request was coming. And we already know that the client wants the information released, but we're still not going to release it because we need to review it with the client and get them to sign a release of information so we could even release the information, right? So because we know we're not in protect mode, because we're not in protect mode, because we know the client wants us to give the information, we just need to make sure that we are doing it in an ethical way by getting the release of information and just double checking. It's like, hey, I know you told me that this would be coming, but it came. Do you want me to release it? If yes, can you sign this form? And then I'll release the information. Right? Because maybe they only want certain things released, but the request said everything. So you want to make sure, do you want me to give them everything? Is that really what you want? Right? You kind of clarifying to make sure that this is actually what they want. So this is different from the first scenario because it's kind of the opposite. It's in the positive. The information being released would help them. All other scenarios, it's going to harm the client. So we're going to be on defense mode. We're going to be on protect mode. But in this instance, I just want to find an instance where we would not necessarily need to do all of our steps. And this would be one of them. Hopefully that makes sense to you, the differences. But normally we are assuming, and I know we shouldn't assume, but we are assuming that our client does not want the information released unless the situation says kind of otherwise, right? Okay, this is going to be our last question for tonight. Again, this was a free class, abbreviated, just to give you a little taste, get you a little back in the swing of things, because we getting ready to do another series of classes for the next 4 weeks. So just wanted to get you a little taste, a little ready. And I'm gonna put the slides in the put the slides in the chat one more time for you. What should a social worker do? A social worker meets with a transgender woman regarding an assessment for a gender affirming surgery. After the initial assessment, the client continues to seek treatment while waiting for a confirmed surgery date. During a session, the client finds out that the doctor wants further testing before scheduling a date for the surgery. The client reports feelings of disappointment and sadness regarding the update. What should a social worker do? And sometimes when it says, what should a social worker do? Those are the most confusing ones because you're like, well, when? First, next, best? What am I doing? Just in general? So you're going to pick the answer. When in doubt, pick the answer that's very client focused and that kind of fits. Yeah, I'm agreeing with everyone that's put their answer in so far. A mental status exam would mean that there is something odd about the client and the feelings are normal. So we wouldn't do B. That would be like the first thing. Well, both of those, really both of them. And then a psychiatric evaluation is not necessary either. So this one was pretty straightforward. Discussing with clients how they feel is a good option. It's a good option. So I wanted to thank you all for joining. I know it's only an hour. It went by quick too. Went by really quick. But how do you feel? I hope you feel like you did really well and you're doing really well and you on the right track if your test is coming up. But if you have a exam coming up later in December or like early January, I am having 4 classes come up. And I do have the VIP class bundle where you can purchase all 4 for $99. So this class was free. The other classes in the series are $37 each. Or you can pay $99 for all 4 if you would like to just do all 4. Let me give you a little perspective on pricing. My colleagues are charging, and I'm not saying nothing about how they charge. They are charging $200 for one session. Okay, so $99 for 4 sessions, and each of them are going to be 2.5 hours. That's really good. That's really, really good. I try to remain affordable against all business advice. Because the business people are like, you need to charge way more. You need to up your pricing. If my bookkeeper is watching, she definitely is like, you need to up your price. So wanting to make sure my material is always affordable. And when you sign up for the VIP class, you'll also get access to the replay bundle. Some people already have access to the replay bundle, but you'll have access to the replay bundle as well. You're a little rusty, need more study time? It's okay. Free group is helpful. Good. Thank you for this jumpstart. Yes, jumpstart. So what I want you to aim for every week, whether you're coming to the classes or not, I want you to aim for 6 hours. 6 hours a week. Some people do every day. Some people can't do every day. They ain't got time for that. So if you can budget your time for 6 hours a week, and this can be varied. It can be reading, it can be writing, it can be listening, it can be doing practice questions. All of those count for your time. And I want you to keep track. And so this time when we come to class, I want you to tell me how many hours did you study? Because I'm not playing with y'all, okay? We got to pass this exam, okay? So I need you to be studying. Some people, they can study. We'll receive the recording. The recording is going to be on YouTube and it'll be on Facebook. So you'll be able to replay it. Oh man, I forgot what I was going to say. It was real good too. But come study with us. Come study with us. I wanted to get some sessions in before the year is out because your goal might be to pass before the year is out. Or your goal might be to pass in the beginning of the year. And so either one of those. Yes, wishing blessings to everyone as you prepare for your exam. Absolutely. Thank you for the session. Very informative. Good. Yes, I feel like we just got started. And it was in a groove. It was in a good groove. I'll try to aim for that. It seems measurable and manageable. Yeah, I feel like it is too. Is the bundle the same if I purchased it 2 years ago? Yeah. I did some updates on the videos. And if you've already purchased my old bundle, you'll get some information about that. I am moving to a new platform, so it's going to be a little bit of a transition. If you're currently studying, you know, you'll be able to still access everything. So you'll get information about that soon. Are the classes content and questions or just questions? Oh, good question. So how it's set up is it's about an hour and a half of content. I might chop it down a little bit because I feel like the classes are really long, but everyone says they enjoy them. So it's about an hour and a half of content. And then it's the same thing we did just now with questions. We do 10 questions live. And then you have 10 questions for homework to start you out. What if we did purchase the bundle before and we cannot locate it? Amber, email me. I'm going to put my email in the chat. Both my emails work, but I just trust my Gmail just a little bit more than that. that Outlook be giving me problems. Do you feel Pocket Prep is good for clinical exam? Yes. Yep, it's good. It's going to give you content. It's going to test you on content. It's not going to test you on format. Right? So it's not going to give you questions like the exam, but it will test your knowledge and it will keep you fresh. So even if you do 50 questions a day on Pocket Prep or whatever, it's going to keep you engaged, and it's a good way to kind of change up your studying habits. Would you suggest studying your bundle first and then the APGAR? I'm taking the exam for the second. Okay. Yes. So Kimberly, what I would suggest is you can use it in tandem. So what that means is you'll have a study plan. If your plan is to do defense mechanisms, you can listen to me going over defense mechanisms, and then you can read your Dawn APGAR book about defense mechanisms. So take it topic by topic. Your Dawn APGAR is going to give you more information. The information I give is like the meat on the bone. Like just the meat on the bone. The APGAR is going to give you the meat, potatoes, the sides, and the dessert. And so it's like, I'm not going over 600 pages worth of material. I'm going to just give you it in a couple bullet points. I'm going to be like, make sure you study this. It's more of I shrink it down, I simplify it. But the APGAR book is good. It's kind of like your encyclopedia. It's kind of like your reference. So anytime you're like, I wonder, like I have Dawn APGAR as a PDF that you can search. So sometimes I'm like, what does it say about this? I can search it and it comes up. So I'd use it as like a little reference. If anyone is ready to there, I haven't made it. Oh, thanks, Corinne. Yes, come on, clinical. I love my students and my and my old clients and stuff that are ready to take their clinical. And this is a really aside. I want to offer clinical content. I just got to get my life together. So I just wanted to say that, but it's not coming anytime soon. So I don't want you to get like Dr. Boo come out with some clinical stuff. But I'm gonna collaborate, Dr. Phillips and I. So for my clinical content people, Dr. Phillips and I probably will do a session closer to Christmas or like over the break, the holiday. So probably like maybe in between Christmas and New Year's. I'm putting her on blast, but I'm pretty sure we're going to do another session. And I love doing sessions together because clinical, I am not. I do not know nothing about schizophrenia. I do not know anything about marijuana use disorder. I don't know about that stuff. I am child welfare. I don't know about that stuff. Okay. So I am education. I am academia. So I don't know the clinical parts. And so she does test exam prep as well. And we normally combined. And so we'll offer questions specifically for the clinical exam. So I'm gonna talk to her and we're gonna get together so we can provide that as well. Do you suggest using the online APGAR study website? Oh, it's an online. Is that the app? Yes, then I would. Yep. That what comes with the book? Then I would say absolutely. Please and thank you in advance. Yes, we're gonna working on the clinical content for sure, and she's really good at the questions too. Hey, Golden. I'm seeing all my names. I see all the names, and I'd be like, hey, y'all. Okay, well, thank you all for joining. I really appreciated it. In terms of my materials, I have the replay bundle, which is the online course, which I'm doing a special. Come to the classes and you get it with it, both for $99. And I also have a full practice exam. Now, what I have learned about my full practice exam is that it's 170 questions all at one time, and the computer sometimes gets tired, and then you can't submit your test. So I'm like, I'm trying to work that out. Now, I've only had a couple that said that, but I'm just letting you know. So what I'm going to do with my full practice exam is it'll be 170 questions, but I'm also going to have a version where I break it up. So we'll also, I'm going to make that update so that you can take all 170 or you can take it by section. So that if you only have 20 minutes, you know, you could take that. So I will send an email with all the information that I just talked about. And I look forward to seeing you next week. We start next week. Yeah, I'm sorry, Mary. I don't know what happened, but it did work. Did it work? Did it ever start working? If not, I have some tips if you wanted to see if it worked. Yes, success on the exam. I already have the bundle. How do I get into the class? So you can still do the 4 classes for $99. Because it's still more affordable than doing the drop-in. Or if you're not available for all 4 classes, then you could do the drop-in. Oh, maybe I should put a link. That's probably good. And let me know if you need help deciding what to do, what link to use. All right. I still hear my toddler upstairs, so I want to get to him before he goes to sleep and kiss him goodnight and all of that. But it was really good speaking with everyone and getting connected again. And I will see you next week. Hope you join. Have a great night. Sending good vibes.